Good morning, everyone. This is Russell Rucker, and I'm here for another constitutional talk. And today I thought we'd get into our 23rd Amendment. And just for a point of reference, all this that we're going to talk about today has to do with D.C., which is the District of Columbia, which is not a state. There has been a movement for statehood over the years, but we'll get into that as we go here. So the 23rd Amendment states in Section 1, the district consisting the seat of government of the United States shall appoint its member in such manner as the Congress may direct a number of electors of president and vice president equal to the whole numbers of senators and representatives in Congress in which the district would be entitled if it were a state, but in no event more than the least populous state. They shall be in addition to those appointed by the states, but they shall be considered for the purposes of the election of the president and vice president to be electors appointed by a state, and they shall meet in the district and perform such duties as prescribed by the 12th article of amendment. So let's just quickly go over to the 12th article. And the 12th article states, the electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be inhabitant of the state with themselves. They shall name in clear ballots the persons voted for as president, and in distinct ballots the persons voted for as vice president. And I could go on, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on the 12th Amendment, which we've covered earlier. But the 12th Amendment is our electoral college. And so that's what the 23rd Amendment is talking about. They're talking about the District of Columbia. And they're talking about giving them electoral votes for the purposes of electing a president and vice president, but in no way are they a state. So they give the least possible, which is 3, because one representative and 2 senators is the least any state can get. So states like Wyoming, for instance, and there are others, I believe South Dakota and North Dakota are in the same situation. Because of their population, they only have 1 representative and 2 senators. So here we give the District of Columbia 3 electors. Now, prior to this amendment, they just voted in Maryland and Virginia, and that's where they were being represented. And that's where they're being represented. This is important to know because this is kind of a political argument they always use for D.C. statehood. But as of right now, they do have representation. They just don't have votes, but they are represented. So the 23rd Amendment allows for the state to allows for the district to act as a state, but in no way are they a state. And why aren't they a state? Well, our founders didn't want them to be a state. Let's go over now to Section 8, Article 1. And this is the final section of Section 8. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such a district, not to exceeding 10 miles square, as may by session of particular states and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of government of the United States. So, why do we even have a district? We have a district to house our federal government. And the reason we have this district If you go back to the arguments in the convention, the whole idea was that when members of Congress and the Senate was elected and they moved their wives and families to the district because they would be there for a while, they were concerned that they would start representing the district of the seat of government and not the state who had sent them. And this was a protective measure to have it in a district so that they would be in no state. The whole purpose here is to elect senators, House members, have a president that represents all the people and not just that of a single state. So this was really an important distinction, and that's why we should never have DC statehood, because it violates the entire idea of having the District of Columbia to begin with. Virginia and Maryland both gave land to the federal government to constitute this 10-mile square. Now, if you look at a map today, you'll see that that section in Virginia is no longer part of the district because they took it back later. But that's for another day. So we have this 10-mile square that's the seat of the federal government. And the 23rd Amendment allows that district to be used for the purposes of electing a president and vice president, gives them 3 electoral votes to vote for their candidate of their choosing. And on a side note, every election we've had, they've always gone to the same party. So that's another interesting dynamic of the situation of the 23rd Amendment. But they should never be considered and never be allowed to become a state, because in doing so, you would have too many representatives. At least that's what our founders feared, that all the representatives, you wouldn't have anybody representing Wyoming, Kentucky, Colorado, Minnesota, Maine, even Virginia, even though that's right where the district is. But the whole idea is they would become devoted to that district. And that's the purpose of keeping it not a state. But here, we're allowing them to act as one for the purposes of electing a president. I hope that clears that whole section up, and understanding of our Constitution is very important. I had somebody recently tell me that our Constitution, it could be used to argue any political view, any side. It could be used, they said, like the Bible. You could pick and choose sections. And I wholly disagree with this entire notion. When you look at the text of the document, you have to read it as if it is what it is. Don't read it looking for your party's argument over it. Don't take your conceived idea that you've already have of what it's supposed to be or what it should be, and then look for it in the document. See, that's the opposite of how it should be. You should read the document and let the document explain to you what it truly means. And that's where a lot of people get messed up. And that's why original intent is important, because it gives you the meaning. It helps you to receive the meaning behind the section you're talking about. And the knowledge of history thereby is important, because it helps you understand the period of time, what was going on at that time for any specific amendment. And so that's really what's important here. Thank you for your time today. We'll catch you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. Folks, have a good day now. We'll catch you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. Bye for now.